Beloved soul, pause everything right now. This is not a coincidence. This is not just another video appearing on your screen. This is not random timing. This is a divine interruption. Archangel Michael stands at the edge of your timeline at this very moment, and his voice is firm, unwavering, and filled with urgency. This is my final warning. If you skip this message, you will suffer great losses within minutes that cannot be undone. Feel the weight of that. Not tomorrow, not next week, within minutes. There are moments in life that look small but carry eternal consequences. A single decision, a single click, a single choice to stay or to walk away. And right now, heaven is watching what you will do. You may think it's just a video. But what if I told you this is the very shield placed between you and a chain reaction of loss? What if this is the spiritual firewall stopping something that was about to unfold in your home, your finances, your relationships? Archangel Michael does not shout without reason. He does not interrupt without cause. When he speaks of loss, he speaks of spiritual doors that were about to swing open. Doors that once opened cannot easily be shut. And here is what you must understand. The enemy never announces its arrival. It moves quietly. It waits for distraction. It waits for impatience. It waits for you to scroll. But heaven also watches. And tonight, heaven intervenes. There is something connected to your house. Yes, your house. The place where you sleep. The place where you think you are safe. There has been a subtle shift in the spiritual atmosphere around it. A heaviness you brushed off. A strange tension. A pattern of small mishaps that seemed like coincidence. They were not coincidence. Archangel Michael is revealing that there has been a test. A weighing of loyalty. A measuring of obedience. And the next few minutes are critical. Because loss does not always begin with disaster. It begins with neglect, with ignoring the nudge, of dismissing the whisper. Right now, this message is the whisper before the storm. There is a decision hovering over you. It may involve a conversation, a financial step, a person you were about to trust again, a document you were about to sign, a call you were about to make. If you act without discernment, the ripple effect will be immediate. And once set in motion, it cannot simply be reversed. This is why Archangel Michael calls this a final warning. Not because heaven desires harm for you, but because heaven desires to protect you. Protection sometimes sounds intense, urgent, even frightening. But urgency is mercy when danger is near. You have been chosen to hear this because your spirit is sensitive. You are not like everyone else. You feel shifts before others do. You sense when something is off, even if you cannot explain it. That feeling you had earlier today, that small hesitation, that was not anxiety, that was spiritual perception. And now, Archangel Michael is amplifying it. There is a window of time open right now. A narrow space where obedience cancels loss. Where attention blocks destruction. Where awareness closes doors that were being pried open. But if you ignore this, if you treat it casually, if you scroll away thinking it is exaggeration, then you step outside the shield that was positioned for you. Loss within minutes can look like this. A message sent in anger. A payment made in haste. A secret exposed prematurely. A trust misplaced. A wrong turn taken. A word spoken that cannot be taken back. You see, not all losses are dramatic explosions. Some are quiet fractures that spread. Archangel Michael stands with his sword not to threaten you, but to cut off what was coming. But here is the mystery. He responds to alignment, to attention, to agreement. Right now, by listening, you are signaling alignment. There is something else you must know. This warning is not only about avoiding loss, it is about exposing deception. There has been a subtle manipulation around you. Someone has been testing boundaries. Someone has been watching your reactions. Not necessarily with evil intent, but with self-interest. And within minutes, yes, minutes, an opportunity will arise. You will be asked something, or you will feel prompted to act. That moment will determine whether you experience loss or protection. This is why skipping this would be costly, because the key instruction is hidden in what follows. Archangel Michael is not here to create fear. He is here to create focus. Focus breaks traps. Focus stops sabotage. Focus prevents irreversible mistakes. And right now, focus is your weapon. Your house is under observation, not by darkness alone, but by heaven. A shift is coming, a revealing, a separating of truth from illusion. But if you move too quickly, if you react emotionally instead of spiritually, you could trigger the very loss heaven is trying to prevent. So breathe. Slow down. Listen carefully. Because what you are about to hear next will reveal exactly where the danger is positioned and how to close the door before it ever opens. The next revelation will not be what you expect. It will challenge what you assumed was harmless. And once you see it, you will never ignore the signs again. The clock is ticking, but mercy is still active. Archangel Michael is still standing guard. The question is, will you stay under his covering? Precious one, what I am about to reveal now is the turning point. Archangel Michael is not only warning you about loss, he is exposing the exact doorway through which it is trying to enter. And it is closer than you think. The danger is not in some distant place. It is connected to a decision forming in your mind right now. Here's a conversation you have been replaying. Words someone said that did not sit right with your spirit. A tone that felt slightly off. A promise that sounded good but felt rushed. You tried to ignore it because you did not want conflict. You told yourself you were overthinking. But you were not overthinking. You were discerning. Archangel Michael is revealing that haste is the trap. Within minutes of leaving this message, you may feel a sudden urge to act, to respond quickly, to prove something, to secure something before it slips away. That urgency will not be from heaven. It will be pressure. And pressure is never the language of divine protection. Loss happens when you act under pressure instead of peace. There is something connected to your home environment. It may involve finances, shared responsibilities, or a private matter that has not yet surfaced. Someone around you is not fully transparent. Not necessarily evil, but not fully truthful. Information had been withheld, and the truth is about to surface in a subtle way. If you react emotionally when it does, you could create a fracture that cannot be undone. Archangel Michael stands as the guardian of truth and righteous action. He does not fight battles for those who rush into them blindly. He fights for those who pause and align themselves with wisdom. So here is the instruction. Do not respond immediately to anything today that feels urgent and emotionally charged. Wait. Observe. Let the energy settle. Because within minutes of restraint, clarity will replace confusion. There is also a financial threat attached to this warning. A payment, a transfer, a purchase, or a commitment that seems small. If you act without double-checking, you may lock yourself into something binding. Not illegal, not dramatic, but draining. Slowly draining your resources. Archangel Michael is cutting off hidden leaks before they become floods. But you must cooperate. You have been protected more times than you realize. The reason certain plans failed in your past was not because you were unlucky. It was because you were shielded. Today is another one of those moments. It may not look dramatic on the outside, but spiritually, a sword has been raised on your behalf. The enemy works in distraction. That is why this warning feels intense. Distraction breaks alignment, and alignment is what keeps your house covered. There is also an emotional attachment involved. A person you still feel connected to, even though something has shifted. You were about to reach out, or respond, or reopen something that heaven quietly closed. If you move in nostalgia instead of discernment, you reopen cycles that cost you peace. This is the loss Archangel Michael is preventing. Not just material loss, but loss of peace, loss of spiritual authority, loss of momentum, because you are on the edge of breakthrough. And breakthrough is always preceded by distraction. Right now, heaven is testing whether you will choose impulse or instruction. You may notice your body feeling slightly tense as you listen. That is not fear. That is awareness. Your spirit recognizes truth when it hears it. And here's something important. The next 24 hours are sensitive. Not dangerous, but sensitive. Your reactions matter more than usual. Your words carry more weight than usual. Choose silence over speed. Choose prayer over pride. Choose delay over drama. Archangel Michael is aligning events behind the scenes. A revealing is coming. Something hidden will surface without you forcing it. If you stay calm, it will work in your favor. If you rush, you may complicate what was meant to bless you. This is why this message found you at this exact time. And let me say this clearly. If this resonates even slightly, do not keep it to yourself. Someone close to you is also standing at a similar crossroads. Share this message with them. Let them hear it before they make a costly move. When you like this video, when you comment that you receive protection, when you subscribe and become part of this growing spiritual family, you are not just supporting a channel. You are strengthening a shield around your household. Your engagement is agreement. Your comment is alignment. Your share could be the interruption someone else desperately needs. There is power when we stand together under the covering of Archangel Michael's protection. And this platform becomes a meeting point for those who refuse to walk blindly into traps. Do not underestimate the significance of your presence here. Heaven sees participation as partnership. And as you continue listening, something deeper will unfold. The root of this warning has not yet been fully exposed. What is coming next will reveal why this moment is more personal than you thought. Hold steady, because what is about to be uncovered will connect directly to your past and explain why certain patterns kept repeating. Faithful heart, the root of this warning goes deeper than you imagine. Archangel Michael is now revealing that what stands before you is not a random event. It is the final echo of an old cycle, a pattern that has followed you quietly through seasons of your life. Different faces, different situations, but the same spiritual thread. And this thread is connected to your house. Not just the physical building, but the spiritual atmosphere of your dwelling. The energy, the conversations, the agreements made within those walls. There was a moment in your past when you allowed something out of desperation. You tolerated a behavior. You accepted a half-truth. You ignored a red flag because you wanted peace more than clarity. That small compromise became an open door. Archangel Michael is not accusing you. He is illuminating the source. Because once you see the root, you can close it permanently. Within minutes of this message ending, a subtle trigger may appear. A memory, a message notification, a request, a reminder of someone who once disrupted your peace. That trigger is not random. It is the cycle attempting to reintroduce itself under a new disguise. If you respond the same way you did before, the loss will repeat. If you respond differently, the cycle ends forever. This is why this is called a final warning. Heaven does not endlessly repeat lessons. When revelation comes this clearly, it is because you are ready to graduate. But graduation requires awareness. There is also something else. Archangel Michael shows that someone around you senses your growth. They feel the shift in you. They notice that you are no longer easily manipulated. And consciously or unconsciously, they may attempt to pull you back into an old dynamic where they felt more control. Pay attention to emotional guilt tactics. Sudden vulnerability that appears strategic. Words like, "You've changed," or "You're not the same anymore." Those phrases are not always innocent. Sometimes they are attempts to reestablish access to your energy. The loss being prevented here is not only financial or situational. It is energetic. It is spiritual authority. You have fought too hard to reclaim your peace. Archangel Michael stands at the entrance of your home spiritually, sword lifted, declaring that what once had access no longer does. But your agreement seals that declaration. Agreement is powerful. Even silence can be agreement. Even responding casually can reopen doors. This is why restraint right now is not weakness. It is warfare. There is a shift happening in your lineage. Patterns that ran through your family. Cycles of instability, mistrust, sudden loss, are attempting one final appearance before they break. It often happens this way. When a generational pattern senses it is losing ground, it intensifies briefly. That intensity is not a sign of defeat. It is a sign that freedom is close. Archangel Michael is making it clear. Do not mistake the intensity for inevitability. You are not destined to repeat what came before you. Within the next few hours, you will have an opportunity to choose differently. It may feel small, a different tone, a delayed reply, a refusal to engage in drama, but that small shift will ripple through your future. And here is the promise. If you hold your ground, something that was meant to drain you will dissolve on its own. You will not need to fight loudly. You will not need to expose anyone publicly. Truth will surface without your force. Because heaven defends those who walk in alignment. Now listen carefully. There is a sacred covering being placed over your household. But coverings respond to faith. If this message resonates in your spirit, seal it with agreement. Type "I close the door" in the comments if you receive this warning and choose protection. Lesson code 4591 has just been released over your house. As you declare it, imagine Archangel Michael marking the entrances of your life, your finances, your relationships, your decisions, with divine authority. What tried to enter unlawfully must now retreat. And as this cycle closes, understand something deeper. This message did not come to create fear. It came to position you. Because when protection is activated, provision follows. When doors of loss close, doors of increase open. The very area that was targeted will become the area of testimony. But this mission of warning and protection does not stop with you. There are others scrolling right now, standing at the same edge of irreversible choice. When you partner with this message, you extend the shield beyond your own house. If this revelation has stirred your spirit, sow into it. Through super thanks, through membership, or through the PayPal link in the description, You are not funding a channel. You are fueling a trumpet that warns and awakens souls. Scripture declares that when you sow beside all waters, your seed will not return void. This is that moment. As you release your seed, heaven releases protection and clarity over your household. I declare that every giver in this moment is marked with favor, that oil of preservation resting upon your finances and your dwelling. Do not hesitate when the Spirit nudges you. Obey quickly. Seal this word with action and watch how swiftly peace settles over your home. The atmosphere is shifting even now, and what is about to be uncovered next will reveal who, exactly, has been connected to this cycle all along. Chosen one. The unveiling begins now. Archangel Michael is drawing your attention to a specific presence connected to this cycle, not to create suspicion toward everyone around you, but to sharpen your discernment. There is a difference between paranoia and perception. What you are receiving now is perception. The person connected to this pattern is not necessarily loud or aggressive. In fact, they may appear supportive. They may speak kindly. They may even present themselves as concerned for your well-being. But beneath their words is an undercurrent of self-interest, and that undercurrent has subtly influenced decisions inside your home. Think carefully. Who tends to show up when you are about to step into something new? Who subtly discourages you when momentum begins to build? Who plants small seeds of doubt disguised as realism? Archangel Michael is revealing that this individual does not always act intentionally malicious. Sometimes they operate from their own insecurity. Your growth unsettles them. Your independence challenges their sense of control. And without fully realizing it, they attempt to slow you down. This slowing down has cost you before. Not dramatically. Not in ways that were obvious. But in delayed opportunities. Missed timing. Emotional exhaustion. Small financial setbacks that accumulated quietly. Every time you second-guessed yourself because of their voice, you stepped slightly out of alignment. And now you are being shown the pattern clearly. Within the next day, this person may reach out or cross your path. It may seem ordinary. A casual message. A subtle request. A suggestion that appears harmless. But listen beneath the surface. Does their tone carry urgency? Does it attempt to rush you? Does it subtly imply that you owe them something? Archangel Michael is instructing you to respond with calm boundaries. Not confrontation. Not accusation. Boundaries. Boundaries are spiritual armor. You do not need to expose them. You do not need to prove anything. You simply need to withhold automatic access. Pause before agreeing. Delay before committing. Pray before responding. Because this is the final tightening of the old cycle. And if you do not feed it with emotional energy, it will collapse. There is also something significant about your physical space. Rearranging, cleaning, or refreshing a part of your home will symbolically break stagnation. Archangel Michael shows that clutter in one specific area has mirrored mental clutter. When you clear that space, clarity will increase. Do not underestimate physical obedience tied to spiritual revelation. You may also notice dreams becoming vivid. Pay attention to symbols involving doors, windows, keys, or unfamiliar visitors. These are confirmations. Your spirit is processing what your mind is only beginning to understand. And here is a truth you must accept. Not everyone assigned to your past is permitted in your future. Growth requires separation. And separation often feels uncomfortable before it feels freeing. The losses you narrowly avoided in the past were warnings. But because you were still learning, the cycle was allowed to repeat. Now you are aware. Now the responsibility shifts. Archangel Michael does not fight battles for those who refuse to grow. He fights for those who step into higher ground. This is higher ground. There may be a moment of loneliness as you enforce new boundaries. A silence where there used to be constant communication. Do not mistake that silence for loss. It is peace-making space. Peace can feel unfamiliar when you are used to tension. And let this sink in deeply. The person connected to this cycle will sense the shift immediately. When you stop reacting the old way, their strategy loses power. They may attempt one last emotional pull. Stay steady. Your calmness will be your victory. Within days, you will see evidence that something has shifted. A conversation will unfold differently. An opportunity will appear without their interference. A financial detail will resolve smoothly. You will realize how much strain was being subtly applied before. Archangel Michael is not removing people from your life randomly. He is filtering influence. Influence shapes destiny. Your house, your inner and outer dwelling, is being recalibrated. What does not align with your next season cannot remain intertwined. You may feel both relief and sadness. That is natural. Growth often carries mixed emotions. But do not retreat into familiarity just because it feels comfortable. Comfort has cost you before. This time, clarity will protect you. There is more to uncover, because this cycle is not only connected to a person, it is also tied to a belief you have carried about yourself. A belief that made you tolerate less than you deserved. Archangel Michael is about to confront that belief directly. And when that belief breaks, the entire structure of loss collapses with it. Prepare yourself, because what is coming next will challenge the story you have told yourself for years. Warrior of light, now we arrive at the hidden belief. Archangel Michael is not only exposing external influences, he is confronting the internal agreement that allowed those influences to remain. Because no cycle continues without some level of silent permission. And the belief you have carried, quietly, almost invisibly, has shaped more of your reality than you realize. The belief is this: I must accept less to keep peace. Somewhere in your past, you learned that standing fully in your truth created tension. Maybe it led to arguments. Maybe it caused distance. Maybe it resulted in rejection. And so you adapted. You softened your boundaries. You tolerated what did not feel right. You convinced yourself that compromise was maturity. But compromise without discernment becomes self-betrayal. Archangel Michael is showing you that every time you chose silence over truth to avoid discomfort, you weakened your spiritual authority slightly. Not permanently, but gradually. And when authority weakens, loss finds entry. This is why the warning felt so urgent. Because you were about to repeat the same internal agreement. You were about to say yes when your spirit was whispering no. You were about to respond kindly when you needed to respond clearly. Kindness without clarity invites confusion. There is a moment approaching where you will be tempted to downplay your needs again. To make yourself smaller so someone else feels secure. To give more than is balanced. And it will feel familiar. All is automatic. But this time, something will feel different. A strength rising in your chest. A pause before you speak. That pause is growth. That strength is alignment returning. Archangel Michael is reinforcing your backbone. You were never meant to carry relationships, finances, or responsibilities alone while pretending everything is fine. You were never meant to shoulder emotional weight that was not yours. And yet, because you feared instability, you chose predictability, even when predictability was draining you. This is where the cycle truly breaks. The next time you feel the urge to smooth things over at your own expense, stop. Breathe. Ask yourself, is this pace or is this fear of conflict? The answer will guide you. Loss happens when fear makes decisions. Protection happens when truth makes decisions. Here is also a deeper layer. You have associated love with endurance. You believed that proving loyalty meant tolerating discomfort. But true alignment does not require you to shrink. Archangel Michael is cutting off the belief that you must earn stability by sacrificing your clarity. In the coming hours, you may experience a subtle test. It may look like someone expecting immediate agreement, or a situation demanding quick compliance. Your old pattern would have responded instantly to maintain harmony. But harmony built on suppression eventually collapses. This time, you are being invited to choose honest stillness. You do not need to explain yourself excessively. You do not need to defend your boundaries with long speeches. A simple, calm delay is enough. Let me think about it. I will get back to you. Those phrases are powerful. They buy you alignment. And alignment prevents irreversible mistakes. The reason the warning mentioned losses within minutes is because your automatic responses operate quickly. Habits act faster than logic. If you had reacted out of old programming, you would have set something in motion before realizing it. But awareness interrupts habit. Archangel Michael is strengthening your awareness so that reaction becomes response. You may feel a mixture of empowerment and discomfort. Empowerment because you recognize your growth. Discomfort because change disrupts familiarity. Stay with the empowerment. Discomfort fades. Growth remains. Your house is shifting energetically because you are shifting internally. When you stand differently, the atmosphere around you rearranges. Those who relied on your silence will notice. Those who respected your strength will draw closer. This is not about isolation. It is about purification. As this belief dissolves, opportunities that once seemed unstable will begin to stabilize. Finances will feel less pressured. Conversations will feel clearer. Decisions will carry confidence instead of anxiety. The cycle was never only about other people. It was about your perception of your own worth. And now that perception is being corrected, Archangel Michael stands beside you not as a distant protector, but as reinforcement for your restored authority. The sword he carries symbolizes decisive clarity. You are being handed that clarity internally. The next revelation will show how this corrected belief opens a door that has been delayed for years. A door connected to increased expansion and unexpected restoration. But first, you must fully release the version of yourself that believed loss was normal. Because what is coming next is not loss. It is reversal. Steadfast soul, what is unfolding now is the reversal you were promised. Archangel Michael is declaring that the very area where loss once hovered is about to experience restoration. But restoration does not arrive loudly. It begins subtly, like a shift in wind direction that only the spiritually attentive can sense. The belief you released has created space, and nature abhors a vacuum. Where fear once operated, faith now has room to move. Where silence once suppressed truth, clarity is beginning to breathe. In the next several days, you may notice small but undeniable confirmations. A conversation that once felt tense will flow differently. A financial concern that seemed tight will loosen. A decision that once confused you will suddenly feel obvious. These are not coincidences. They are signs that the cycle has been interrupted. Archangel Michael is repositioning you. There is something significant about timing. You thought you were late in life regarding a certain opportunity. You believe you missed your window. But heaven does not operate on human panic. What was delayed was not denied. It was preserved until you were strong enough to handle it without compromising yourself. If restoration had come earlier, you might have sabotaged it with old patterns. Now you are prepared. However, understand this clearly. The final attempt of the old cycle has not completely faded. When patterns lose power, they often try to reassert themselves one last time. You may feel a sudden wave of doubt, a thought whispering, "What if you are overreacting?" Or, "Maybe you should just go back to the way things were." That is not logic. That is the echo of familiarity. Do not answer the echo. Archangel Michael is fortifying your resolve. The sword in his hand symbolizes decisive separation. And separation is sometimes quiet. It does not require drama. It requires consistency. Consistency is your protection now. There is also a financial alignment occurring. A resource, idea, or connection that seemed insignificant before will become more relevant. Pay attention to practical details. Double-check information. Review agreements carefully. Precision is part of restoration. You are entering a season where small corrections prevent large losses. And let this be clear, you are not being watched for failure. You are being supported for victory. Heaven is not waiting for you to make a mistake. Heaven is amplifying your wisdom so that mistakes lose their grip. Your house is calmer than it was weeks ago. Even if circumstances look similar, the internal atmosphere feels lighter. That lightness is not imaginary. It is the result of alignment. Archangel Michael's presence is strongest where truth is honored. Now listen carefully. In the coming hours, there will be a moment where you realize how close you were to repeating the old cycle. You may look back and think, if I had acted impulsively, this would have turned out very differently. But realization will bring gratitude. Hold on to that gratitude. It strengthens discernment. And as this restoration unfolds, do not isolate yourself. Growth shared becomes stronger. If this message has been confirming what you already sensed, engage with it openly. Like this message. Share it with someone who needs spiritual clarity right now. Comment your agreement with protection and restoration. Subscribe and stand consistently under this stream of discernment. When you participate, you reinforce the atmosphere of awareness around you. When you join this community, you surround yourself with others who are choosing clarity over impulse. And in moments of weakness, collective faith becomes reinforcement. There is power in not walking alone. Also remember this, restoration sometimes requires discipline. You may need to restructure a routine, adjust a habit, reevaluate a financial practice. These are not punishments. They are refinements. Refinement increases capacity. Archangel Michael is not only protecting you from loss, he is increasing your ability to steward gain. Soon, an opportunity will surface that tests your new stability. It will look promising. And this time, you will approach it calmly. Not desperate. Not rushed. That calmness will be the evidence that you have changed. The old you would have leaped without thinking. The new you will observe, pray, and then step confidently. That difference determines destiny. There is more unfolding behind the scenes. A connection that once felt strained is being recalibrated. A misunderstanding may clear, or distance may create healthy dynamics. Either way, balance is being restored. But the next revelation will go even deeper. It will address why this warning felt so intense at the beginning, why the language of urgency was necessary. Because there was more at stake than you realized. And when you understand what was truly intercepted, You will see how close you were to a turning point that could have reshaped your path. Prepare yourself. The truth about what almost happened is about to surface. Brave heart, now you are ready to understand what was truly intercepted. At the beginning, the warning sounded intense. It spoke of losses within minutes that could not be undone. That urgency was not exaggeration. It was precision. Archangel Michael does not dramatize. He reveals. What almost happened was a chain reaction. You were standing at the edge of a decision that would have looked small on the surface. A reply, a signature, a confrontation, a reopening of communication. But that small action would have triggered 3 consequences simultaneously. First, it would have reignited the old relational cycle. Not instantly in a dramatic way, but subtly. Old emotional patterns would have resurfaced. You would have found yourself explaining your boundaries again, justifying your growth, re-enter in a dynamic where you carried more weight than necessary. Second, it would have created financial or practical instability. Perhaps not immediately visible, but through misplaced trust, rushed agreement, or emotional spending. A drain that would feel manageable at first, but heavy over time. Third, and most importantly, it would have shaken your internal confidence. The progress you made in strengthening your voice would have felt weakened. You would have questioned yourself again. And self-doubt spreads faster than external loss. This was the real danger. Archangel Michael stepped in because the combination of these 3 consequences would have aligned perfectly to delay your next season. Not destroy it, but delay it significantly. Delay is a silent thief. Heaven is invested in your timing. You are closer to a breakthrough than you realize. A shift in responsibility, opportunity, or recognition is forming. But breakthroughs require stability. And instability was trying to reattach itself through familiarity. The reason the warning felt urgent is because it moves quickly. If you had acted instinctively, the chain reaction would have begun before logic caught up. Within minutes, the first message would have been sent. Within hours, the emotional atmosphere would have shifted. Within days, momentum would have changed. But that timeline has been disrupted. Archangel Michael intercepted the beginning of the sequence. Now, you may feel a strange mixture of relief and shock. Relief because you were protected. Shock because you realize how close you were to repeating the cycle. Do not feel shame. Awareness is growth. Growth is strength. There is something powerful happening inside you now. You are recognizing patterns faster than before. You are pausing where you once rushed. That pause is not hesitation. It is mastery. And here is a deeper revelation. The person or situation connected to this cycle is not your enemy. The real battle was between your old identity and your emerging identity. Your old identity tolerated instability for the sake of connection. Your emerging identity values alignment over attachment. Archangel Michael's role in your life right now is to reinforce the emerging identity. The warrior within you who does not need chaos to feel needed. The leader within you who does not sacrifice peace for approval. The house mentioned in the warning is symbolic as well. It represents your inner dwelling, your mind, your emotions, your spiritual center. If the chain reaction had begun, the atmosphere inside would have become tense again. Sleep would have felt restless. Thoughts would have looped. Peace would have thinned. But look at you now. There is a steadiness forming. In the coming days, you will notice increased clarity in unrelated areas of your life. Decisions that once felt foggy will sharpen. Conversations will feel more grounded. This is the ripple effect of avoided loss. Avoided loss creates invisible gain. You may also receive confirmation from an unexpected source. A friend may say something that affirms your growth. A situation may resolve without your interference. These are signals that the interception was successful. Archangel Michael stands not only as protector, but as witness to your transformation. However, do not let this victory make you complacent. Protection is partnership. Continue practicing pause. Continue valuing clarity over urgency. Continue choosing alignment over nostalgia. The intensity at the beginning of this message was necessary to capture your attention, because sometimes only strong language can interrupt strong habits. Now the tone shifts from warning to preparation. Here is something new approaching. And unlike the old cycle, this new opportunity will not require you to shrink. It will invite you to expand. But expansion requires confidence. And confidence grows from victories like this one. The next revelation will show you how this avoided loss directly connects to an open door that has been forming quietly in the background. A door tied to growth you once prayed for but stopped expecting. Prepare yourself, because what you thought was a threat was actually a setup for elevation. Anointed one, what felt like a threat was in fact a threshold. Archangel Michael now reveals that the interception of loss was not only about protection. It was about positioning you for elevation. There is an open door forming in your life, and it has been forming quietly for months. You did not see it clearly because your focus was consumed by managing old cycles. But now that the cycle has been broken, your vision is clearing. This door is connected to expansion. It may involve responsibility, leadership, a new stream of income, or a platform where your voice carries weight. It will not look overwhelming at first. In fact, it may look almost ordinary. But beneath its surface is growth that matches your new identity. Here is why the warning was urgent. If the old pattern had reattached itself, you would have stepped into this new opportunity with divided focus. You would have carried unresolved attention into a season that requires stability. And divided focus weakens impact. Archangel Michael does not just block danger, he prepares ground. You may begin noticing subtle invitations. A conversation hinting at collaboration. An idea that returns to your mind repeatedly. A skill you once overlooked now feeling relevant again. Do not dismiss these nudges. They are connected to the open door. But there is a condition. You must walk through it without dragging your past behind you. The person tied to the old cycle may attempt subtle re-entry precisely because they sense your momentum increasing. When growth becomes visible, familiarity often tries to reclaim space. This is not coincidence. It is timing. Stand firm. Your elevation will not require dramatic announcements. It will require quiet consistency. Archangel Michael shows that discipline in small daily actions will amplify this new season. Waking with intention. Managing resources wisely. Guarding your emotional energy. These simple practices create extraordinary stability. There is also restoration connected to reputation. Where you once felt overlooked or underestimated, acknowledgement is forming. Not forced recognition, but earned respect. You will not need to prove yourself loudly. Your steadiness will speak. And this is important. Do not minimize yourself when the door opens. The old belief would have whispered, "You are not ready." The new truth declares, "You have been prepared." Preparation often happens through avoided mistakes, through lessons learned quietly, through warnings heeded. This is why this moment matters. Within the next phase of your life, you will operate from a different center. Less reactive, more discerning. Less anxious, more anchored. That internal shift changes outcomes. Archangel Michael stands behind you not to push you forward recklessly, but to fortify your spine as you step into greater territory. Now seal this elevation with agreement. Type "I step into elevation" in the comments if you receive this shift. Blessing code 7328 is now activated over your next season. As you declare it, envision doors opening without struggle. Envision peace guarding your house while opportunity expands your influence. Envision clarity guiding each decision so that gain replaces loss. And as this door opens, understand that this message is larger than one individual. There are countless others standing at similar thresholds, unaware that one impulsive choice could delay their destiny. When you partner with this mission, you help extend this warning and preparation to souls who might never hear it otherwise. If this elevation has stirred something within you, sow into it. Through super thanks, through membership, or through the PayPal link in the description, you are planting seed into fertile ground. Scripture speaks of sowing beside still waters and reaping in due season. This is that field. As you release your support, you become part of a river carrying light into dark corners. I declare that every giver stepping forward now is marked with increase. That oil flows over your household, that provision overtakes hesitation. Do not delay obedience when your spirit is stirred. Act in faith. Strengthen this trumpet. Expand this light. Seal your elevation with action. The door is no longer theoretical. It is for me. And what comes next will reveal how to walk through it without fear of repeating what once held you back. Radiant Spirit, stepping into elevation requires more than opportunity. It requires internal alignment with the level you are entering. Archangel Michael now shifts the focus from the door itself to the posture you must carry as you walk through it. Because many are called to higher ground, but few sustain themselves there. Sustainability is built on identity, not excitement. The reason previous cycles were able to interrupt your progress was not because you lacked talent or potential. It was because your inner foundation was still healing. You were building upward while still negotiating downward with old habits. That tension created instability. But something has changed. You are no longer negotiating with the version of yourself that tolerated confusion. You are no longer convincing yourself that chaos is normal. You are beginning to expect clarity. Expectation shapes reality. As this new season unfolds, there will be subtle tests, not to trap you, but to confirm your growth. A delay that would have once triggered anxiety will now invite patience. A disagreement that once would have escalated will now meet calm firmness. A financial decision that once would have been emotional will now be evaluated strategically. Each of these moments will feel ordinary, but they are sacred checkpoints. Archangel Michael is not only guarding you from loss, he is mentoring your maturity. His presence in your life now feels less like emergency intervention and more like strategic partnership. The sword that once blocked danger now points forward, guiding direction. There is also a deeper emotional healing occurring. You are releasing the need to be validated by those who misunderstood you. This is significant, because when you no longer seek validation from the wrong sources, you free energy for purposeful expansion. You may notice that certain conversations lose their emotional charge. Topics that once provoked you now feel neutral. That neutrality is strength. It means the old hooks have been removed. Within the coming days, you may be presented with a small leadership moment. Perhaps someone will ask your opinion. Perhaps you will be placed in charge of something simple. Do not underestimate it. Small leadership prepares for larger influence. Respond with measured confidence. Speak clearly. Do not over-explain. Let your words carry weight through calm delivery. Archangel Michael is reinforcing that humility and authority can coexist. You do not need arrogance to lead. You need clarity. Here is also a reminder about your home environment. Keep it aligned with the season you are entering. Remove objects, habits, or distractions that symbolize your old cycle. Refresh your space intentionally. When your outer dwelling reflects your inner growth, stability increases. You are no longer surviving. You are structuring. Structure protects growth. The urgency from the beginning of this message now makes sense, does it not? What seemed like a threat was a pivot point. Had you moved impulsively, your structure would have cracked before completion. But now the foundation is reinforced. Still, remain attentive. Elevation attracts observation. Not everyone will understand your shift. Some may perceive distance where there is simply maturity. Let them interpret as they choose. Your responsibility is alignment, not approval. In moments where doubt tries to whisper again, return to what was intercepted. Remember how close you were to repeating the cycle. Remember the clarity that followed restraint. Gratitude will stabilize you. There is something else forming quietly, a collaboration or connection with someone operating at a similar frequency. This individual will not drain you. They will challenge you constructively. Conversations with them will feel expansive rather than heavy. Recognize the difference. Archangel Michael often removes before he connects. Separation makes space for alignment. As you continue forward, discipline becomes your ally. Manage your time intentionally. Protect your rest. Guard your focus. Elevation requires energy stewardship. The next phase will bring visibility. Not necessarily public fame, but increased recognition in your sphere. And visibility magnifies both strengths and weaknesses. Continue refining your character quietly so that when recognition increases, stability remains intact. You are not warned to be frightened. You were warned to be prepared. Preparation transforms destiny. The next revelation will address something subtle yet powerful, the way you speak about yourself. Because elevation is sustained not only by action, but by internal language. Your words about your own life are about to shift. And when they do, the door you are stepping through will feel less like a risk and more like home. Determined soul, the next shift is in your language. Archangel Michael is drawing attention to something subtle yet powerful. The way you speak about yourself, your future, and your circumstances. Words are not decoration. They are architecture. They build internal structures that either support elevation or sabotage it. In the past, you often downplayed your progress. When something good happened, you called it luck. When you handled a situation wisely, you called it coincidence. When others recognized your growth, you redirected the credit quickly. A humility felt safe, but hidden within it was a reluctance to fully own your transformation. Ownership is not arrogance. It is agreement with growth. As you step into this new season, the language you use must reflect the level you are entering. Instead of saying, "I hope this works out," you will begin to say, "I am prepared for what is coming." Instead of saying, "I always struggle with this," you will say, "I am learning to master this." That shift may feel small, but it changes internal alignment. Archangel Michael reinforces identity through declaration. The sword represents decisive truth, and truth begins with what you allow yourself to affirm. Be mindful in the coming days of self-deprecating humor. Be aware of subtle negative predictions about your own life. Statements like, "Something will probably go wrong," invite unnecessary anxiety. You are not tempting fate by expecting stability. You are cooperating with protection. Your internal language must match your external elevation. There is also something important about how you speak within your home. Conversations about money, opportunity, and responsibility should carry calm authority. Even if uncertainty exists, speak from a grounded perspective. Panic spreads quickly through words. Peace spreads the same way. Archangel Michael is reminding you that authority flows through alignment of thought and speech. You may also notice others reacting differently to you as your language changes. Some will feel inspired. Others may feel unsettled. Do not shrink back to make them comfortable. Your growth is not an attack on anyone. It is a reflection of readiness. Now listen carefully. There may be one final echo of the old cycle attempting to resurface through conversation. Perhaps someone will casually reference the past. Perhaps they will remind you of a time when you doubted yourself. That is not nostalgia. It is subtle anchoring. Do not agree with old narratives. Respond with present truth. Calmly, briefly, firmly. The urgency at the beginning of this journey was about interrupting action. Now the focus is sustaining momentum. Sustained momentum requires community. If this message has been strengthening you, engage with it openly. Like this video so that it reaches others who need clarity. Share it with someone who may be standing at the edge of a costly decision. Comment your declaration of alignment and growth. Subscribe and remain connected to this stream of discernment. Join the membership if you feel called to stand more closely in this community of awareness. When you actively participate, you reinforce your own commitment. You remind yourself that you are no longer passive in your growth. You are intentional. And here is a retention truth for you. What unfolds next will tie everything together in a way you did not expect. The final pieces of this warning will reveal how your new language activates lasting stability. You will want to understand this fully, because it will anchor your elevation permanently. There is a sacred confidence forming within you. Not loud, not boastful, but steady. And steady confidence is rare. It is built through avoided mistakes, corrected beliefs, and conscious speech. Archangel Michael's role now feels less like emergency response and more like strategic covering. You are not standing at the edge of loss anymore. You are standing at the entrance of influence. Influence begins with internal conviction. In the coming days, practice speaking about your future as if stability is normal. Practice referring to your growth without apology. Practice describing your plans with calm expectation instead of anxious hope. This is not manifesting fantasy. It is aligning with protection. Because the truth is, the losses that were once circling you have lost permission. The door to repetition has closed, and the door to elevation remains open. The final revelation will seal this journey. It will show you how to maintain this level without fear of regression. It will explain why this truly was a final warning and not a recurring alarm. Prepare yourself. The conclusion will not be dramatic. It will be decisive. Faithful one, now we approach the decisive understanding. Archangel Michael is revealing why this truly was a final warning. Not because challenges will never appear again, but because this specific cycle no longer has legal access to your life. The authority it once held was sustained by unconscious agreement. That agreement has now been revoked. There is a spiritual principle at work here. What you recognize, you can resist. What you ignore, you empower. For years, certain patterns operated beneath your awareness. They felt like personality traits, then luck, or complicated relationships. But now you see them clearly as cycles, and clarity removes permission. This is why the urgency at the beginning was necessary. The moment you paused instead of reacting, you disrupted momentum. The moment you chose discernment over impulse, you shifted timelines. What would have unfolded within minutes was stopped before it began. You may not fully grasp how significant that interruption was, but in the quiet of reflection, you will sense it. A subtle knowing that something heavy passed by without landing. Archangel Michael stands as witness to that interception. Now the focus shifts from interruption to maintenance. Because freedom maintained becomes legacy, you are not only breaking cycles for yourself, you are modeling stability for those who observe you. Family members, friends, colleagues, they may not articulate it, but they notice the difference. They notice your calm responses. They notice your measured decisions. They notice that you no longer rush to fix what is not yours to fix. This is leadership without announcement. There is also healing taking place in your nervous system. You are not as easily triggered as before. Situations that once activated urgency now meet patience. That internal recalibration is evidence of growth. However, do not confuse peace with passivity. Boundaries still matter. Clarity still matters. Elevation does not mean you tolerate subtle disrespect or hidden manipulation. It means you address it without emotional chaos. In the coming days, there may be a conversation that confirms everything you have sensed. Perhaps someone will reveal information unintentionally. Perhaps an inconsistency will surface. When it does, you will not feel shock. You will feel confirmation. Confirmation strengthens resolve. Archangel Michael is also revealing something deeper about your identity. You once believed you were the fixer, the stabilizer for others. While that trait carries compassion, it also invited imbalance. You often absorbed responsibility that was not assigned to you. Now you are learning the difference between support and overextension. Support empowers others. Overextension weakens you. The final warning was not only about preventing loss. It was about protecting your energy for the season ahead. The opportunity forming in your life requires clarity and stamina. You cannot carry unresolved emotional weight into it. You may also notice that certain people drift naturally from your daily interactions. Not through conflict, but through misalignment. Let it happen without forcing reconnection. To the gender relationship. Trust that what remains is aligned. There is a quiet confidence emerging within you now. It does not need validation. It does not require applause. It is anchored in self-awareness. That confidence is what sustains elevation. Archangel Michael's presence now feels steady rather than urgent. The sword that once guarded against imminent reaction now rests as a symbol of authority already secured. This is the difference between crisis protection and covenant protection. You are moving into covenant protection, a covering sustained by consistent alignment. And here is something essential. Do not look back searching for proof of danger. Do not replay hypothetical scenarios of what might have happened. Gratitude is enough. You do not need evidence of disaster to validate your protection. Trust that interception occurred. The final step will seal this transformation. It will anchor your new identity, your new language, and your new boundaries into a lasting framework. It will clarify why this was truly the last time this specific pattern will attempt to re-enter. Prepare your spirit for closure. Not dramatic closure. Decisive closure. The next words will not warn you. They will commission you. Victorious one. This is not an ending. It is a commissioning. Archangel Michael now speaks not as a watchman sounding alarm, but as a guardian affirming authority. The final warning has fulfilled its purpose. The cycle that once hovered over your house has lost its access. The reaction that would have triggered irreversible loss never occurred. The door that once stood slightly open hath been sealed. and you sealed it. Understand this clearly. Heaven intervened, but you responded. Protection was offered, but you aligned. The urgency at the beginning of this message was real because the decision before you was real. Within minutes, you could have reactivated an old pattern. Within minutes, you could have spoken a word, signed a document, reopened a conversation, or made a choice that would have shifted your trajectory. But you paused. That pause was power. Archangel Michael's sword did not move without your agreement. When you chose discernment over impulse, you demonstrated readiness for greater responsibility. This is why this was a final warning. Not because you will never face tests again, but because this particular lesson has been mastered. You are no longer the person who reacts automatically. You are the person who discerns deliberately. There is peace settling over your house even now. You may feel it as calm clarity. You may notice it in quieter thoughts. You may sense it in the way your breathing feels steady instead of tight. That is alignment stabilizing. The threat that once seemed near has dissolved into irrelevance. And now, you are being commissioned to live differently. From this day forward, when urgency appears, you will pause before acting. When emotional pressure rises, you will wait for peace before deciding. When old voices try to define you, you will answer with present truth. This is maturity anchored in awareness. Archangel Michael remains near, but no longer in emergency stance. The covering over your household is steady because your internal foundation is steady. You have learned that loss does not begin with catastrophe. It begins with unconscious agreement. And you have revoked that agreement. There may be one final confirmation in the coming days. A moment where you see clearly what almost unfolded. A conversation that exposes hidden motives. A financial detail that reveals how easily you could have been entangled. When it happens, do not feel anger. Feel gratitude. Gratitude seals lessons permanently. You are not moving forward in fear of loss. You are moving forward in confidence of protection. Now seal this commissioning. Type "I walk in authority" in the comments if you receive this mantle. Blessing code 9903 is now released over your house and your future. As you declare it, envision your home surrounded by light. Envision your decisions guided by calm discernment. Envision your future no longer threatened by recycled patterns. And as this final warning transforms into lasting authority, hear this clearly. This message did not reach you by accident. There are thousands standing at similar crossroads, unaware that one impulsive action could delay their destiny. When you support this mission, you become part of the shield that intercepts loss in other households. If this word has protected you, extend that protection. Through super thanks, through membership, or through the PayPal link in the description, you are sowing into a living altar of warning and restoration. The word declares that when you sow generously, you reap generously. When you release seed, heaven releases harvest. This is not a transaction. It is alignment with purpose. As you give, light multiplies. As you partner, oil flows over your own house. I declare that every giver responding now is marked for increase, that provision will meet you swiftly, that stability will rest upon your finances and your family. Do not hesitate. Act in obedience. Strengthen this trumpet. Expand this covering. Seal this commissioning with action. The warning has ended. The authority remains. Walk forward.